Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Let's Talk Trackmania. That was me giving you my best smile to start you off in the podcast just right. We are back. We are back once again as Tuesday at 7 p.m. here, 8 p.m. there, and whatever p.m. or a.m. of the world where you are. But welcome back nonetheless. We are glad to have you, and we are glad to be back. It's Turbo giving you his best smile now. It's just Shorty left. There we
I already
go.
did. I already
Yeah,
smiled. Come on.
there we go. We'll get there. But of course, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone. Hope you've enjoyed the holidays to the absolute best. Hope everyone has had a fantastic time with the families or whatever it is they've been doing in the meantime. I've certainly had a good time, but we are back. We have, of course, some Trackmania to talk about that we have been dealing with over the past few weeks. Of course, we've had Trackmania Grand League concluding, with the exception of, I think, the 1v1s, which will be
Head to head, yeah.
happening soon. And also, we've had the Trackmania Awards show, which I would say would be a primary focus of this week. He's giving a big thumbs up. Just wait till he hears what I have to say.
Oh.
Anyway,
I mean, I'm
but
just praising the good host of the show.
oh yeah, I mean, like the
And the good
visuals were
jokes,
on point,
apparently.
But anyway, of course, for the first time of this year, I will ask the most important question of 2022. It is the year of twos. It is the year of Shorty. He has been blessed with this year. A few years ago, it would have been the year Scotty 2.0. That was 2020, and that came in by without any much fanfare.
Hello.
So I certainly hope the year of 2022, the year of twos, certainly reflects better on you, Shorty. So I'll ask you first. How are you, and how was your holidays?
Yeah, I mean, all I can say, I'm ready for this year. I think we can all agree on that already. That last year, let's just quickly forget that it happened.
Was
I
a
had
good
a
year.
great.
It was a good year last year.
For Trackmania, yeah, but for other things, okay, it had its good and its bad sides. But no, I had a great holiday. I mean, you might have noticed that it's always the same for me. Like I drive home to my parents over Christmas, and then I stay to New Year's, and I think tomorrow or in 2 days I'm gonna drive back home to Düsseldorf. And I've basically not even touched the PC as much as I could. I didn't
Oui.
play Trackmania at all. I did not even start Trackmania at all, and I think that was really, I kind of like that, doing stuff with your family as much as possible, at least, I had a great, Sylvester party. I met some friends that I didn't see for like 2 years now because we didn't have a party last year for obvious reasons, but this year we just decided fuck it, and just did it. We did test ourselves actually because one of our friends kind of
We also
wanted
did.
that. But it's so easy to do, so that's not a big issue at all. And so we had a great time with that. So I really got nothing to complain. I'm ready for the new year to start. I'm ready to like do stuff again, I guess. Sadly, because my university kinda is meh. I don't really have a break from them, sadly. No, but I had a great couple of weeks, to be honest.
Nice TED talk. No, I'm kidding, of
Yeah.
course. But it's the same for me. I could also go on like you. I also took a break a little bit from streaming when I was in Stralsund and Berlin for a total of 4 days.
Stralsund.
Yeah, very
I've
nice
been
there.
there. I've been there 2 times.
It's
I've
very
not
nice
been
there.
there.
It's like one of the northern cities in Germany, next to the largest island. So like in the north, you have Rügen, which is like only a 3 kilometer road over a bridge. Very nice, and it has been fun. I can tell you that it was very nice to just reset, not be on the PC, so I can really feel why it's good for you as well. But now I'm back on the grind, playing Kaki. The streaming life embraces. Did my taxes today, and also tried to set up my phone. Oof, was a very exhausting day. I wanted to go swimming, but I overslept, so I didn't go. And I just did a lazy day with no sports today. I feel bad, but hey, I'm gonna go for a run tomorrow. So hey, I'm doing good. What about you, Paul?
I'm doing fantastic. Had a good holidays, good New Year, good Christmas, got a good bit of time off of work. Spent some time with the family, girlfriend's family as well. Took a little mini holiday up in the caravan. But yeah, it was fantastic. In the last few days, I even played a little bit of the CPS maps. I got myself playing Trackmania a little bit. It feels like someone's ironed my hands, which isn't fun, but I'm not shit, which also is more fun. So yeah, feels good coming back and flexing on some of the newer folk, but no. But yeah, I've been playing with a few new faces, and it's really nice, coming back. And I spoke a lot about the UK crowd, and it's really nice coming back and just playing with people who are part of like the UK communities or the tech communities that I've never encountered or spoken to before. So that's really nice and really refreshing. Whether I'll keep playing the game is another question, but yeah. It's been a good holidays. Can't complain. Still got a little bit of time off before I go to work. Had a nice adventure today, and all's good in the hood. And then I come on and see two beautiful faces once again, and I see absolutely smashing hairdo from our dear Shorty, who's clearly went to extra effort for today's podcast. So I'll respect that. But yeah, all good here. And see, I can see him blushing from here, guys. But yeah, all's good here. Thank you very much for asking. But the questions, of course, we always come to ask, and let's talk Trackmania. Is all good in Trackmania? And I would say, we've had a big competition over the winter break, so to speak, and we've also had, of course, the awards show. So definitely a few interesting points to deal with. I think the awards show, since it's been more recent and fresh in our minds, a good place to start. And it was hosted by none other than our LuckersTurbo. So it's a process I gather you have been working on for a few months now, at the very least. But how did that go for you? I mean, we spoke a lot about our experiences in award shows and the past episode, both for good and bad. But yeah, walk us through your involvement in the award show this year.
It was a bit, yeah, how can I say that? I mean, I like to be in a situation that I was never in before, to go out of my comfort zone, but was quite stressy. I gotta say it like that, to be the host, especially in the reveal show, being all on your own, and then you just reveal all of that, and then like 5,000-6,000 people are watching because Virtual has restreamed my stream. He was writing me before that. It was quite oof, but it was cool. It was a good experience, and I think I also did a great job. But I'm not going to go into my personal experience here. I think I'm just going to go through all the things that I liked and disliked. In general, it went way better, the communication and everything like that, than beforehand. Also, it seems that some of the juries cared more, but on the other hand, you had juries that didn't care at all. And that was kind of the thing, the discussion points were like, I'm throwing in something spicy, and they were like, yeah, but this guy. And I'm like, dude, then I just stop discussing, just take your pick, I don't care. But it was hard sometimes to discuss. And some juries, like, for example, match of the year, there were Marius and me, only 2 juries. And then there were others where 6-7 people were in the jury. Of course, if Marius and me are working together, it works out very well as always, because we went through all the matches, and I think we picked the best ones. But of course, it's also hard to, for example, for match of the year, to find the match of the year. How can you objectify things? But this comes to the next problem. But in general, to just sum it up, I think the award show went great, just from the visibility from viewers and stuff, and also from the guests that we've had, and also the voting. There were 1,000 people, give or take, in average, on each category that have voted. That is very nice. And I think we can go from there.
Mm-hmm.
I did actually watch it a little bit. I sneaked on my PC at that, like on like not when you revealed the results, but when you revealed the nominees and you had like a lot of guests there as well. And I really liked that show, like personally. Just you had a lot to talk about. I remember we already did these kind of shows where we revealed nominees or try to talk about people, but we never really did it to that extent and had enough to actually like talk about it. So we basically just like went on from name to name and like basically just said like one random sentence about that player, for example, that in this year, and it wasn't really interesting or wasn't really exciting. But that show, like watching that, was really exciting in my opinion. So that was like way more high quality stuff than we had in the years before.
I think Geek also did that, but I think he also did a great job. Not sure how and what extent he did it, but it was also quite spontaneous. I just had names in my head. Okay, who can I ask? Who will join? And stuff like this. And
I really
it worked
liked
out
that,
quite
having the
nice. It
guests.
was very cool, yeah. And I also tried to fit, or to have fitting guest. Mang for the skins, then Sinus Apple for the players. We have Granadi, who can kind of, it was a bit weird with the team of the year or the content creator or whatever that was, that OK Boys were nominated. But, I tried to give a fit for everyone who was in there, that they can talk about that, as well as Nano. It was very cool. And also people that are kind of close to me, that I know, and they're doing a great job. So I was just asking them. It was great. And actually, there was only one person that I asked who didn't have time, actually, and that was quite cool. That I had a good feeling for that, who has interested in it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the award show has always been a difficult kind of project to undertake. I mean, obviously we've spoke at length about the format of it, but it's also a little bit of a weird thing to kind of present in that kind of way. You're going to have it like we've had it in the past, where it's almost like a monologue, and it's just essentially you kind of present award
Your
after award
PowerPoint.
after award. Yeah, exactly, a PowerPoint. Or if you're presenting it in another way, like, for example, you're going to have a lot of guests involved, which, of course, is going to give you a little bit more insight, but also going to make the show run time a lot longer and all the rest of that. But I'm glad to hear you guys have at least found some form of kind of balance in that regard, and it certainly looked like everything was dealt with relatively fine. Of course, I mean, as there is naturally, as there always is going to be, there's controversy about who got picked for what, all the different, who got what award, and who got nominated here, who got nominated there, and the rest of that. And I mean, I think we can go on to mention that a little bit later on, but I mean, do you feel, at least in terms of just from the show aspect, Turbo, that this was the best show that the awards had managed to put out before, or was there some things that you'd ideally improve upon?
Yeah, you can always improve, and I think making mistakes is always human. If I make mistakes, I just giggle around with the chat and don't apologize. Just spam XDD in the chat. That's a new emote, by the way, a very good one. But
directly plugging himself.
Mistakes. Wait, why plugging? It wasn't me.
Wait, what
submitting it.
emote is that? Like official emote or what?
No, it's. Look,
Oh,
I mean,
God.
I don't care if it's better or not. I think I just had fun, and I don't like really comparing myself to others. It was a great show.
Really?
And I'm happy, and I can go from there. That's all that matters, I think. And I think I did a great job. And it's subjective at the end of the day who likes which show more. But I think I did a great job, and I can go from there for the next time. I can definitely improve on some things. What I actually overdid a bit, I set up my Stream Deck, and I had like 200 different folders or something like that, where I just went through everything with multi-actions. It was way too overkill. So I kind of lost the resources where I was. So maybe there has to be someone clicking the buttons at the end, because being a one-man army, just doing multitasking, introducing the guests, then click on the scenes, also try to moderate, it's very hard. I tell you that, 3 things. And that's something that I definitely know for the next year. But I think it went good. I heard from a lot of people that they liked it, so I'm happy.
Oh,
I mean, it's natural that you can always improve.
Yeah, of course.
Like you also get more experience if you do it multiple times, and you can't really figure out what you're doing wrong or what you can improve if you don't do it first.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it was, as I said, I mean, the award shows are always a focal point, at the very least, of Trackmania. It's always something which people look forward to in that regard. And I mean, it is unfortunate, as you said, that you ran into some issues in regards to, some juries caring more. And I noticed the actual candidates of the jury were lower than at least in the previous years. But that is an issue you're always going to encounter. They did mention, of course, that they are looking at any possible solutions to deal with any of the issues for next year, but it's always one of those ones like the issue we always had with the award show is everyone would complain about it, and
I got so many messages, actually.
Yeah, I mean, you
chatting, why is Toro not nominated? Chatting, why is this guy not nominated as cast of the year? How can you? He stole his award.
Yeah.
I like
It
that
was
so
fun.
much.
It's
Like
It was good. It was nice.
when Scotty just said that people awaited the award show, like I think that just the community is like mainly kind of waiting just to discuss about it again. Finally, we can discuss about stuff again.
Yeah.
I remember I talked with Virtual on Sunday night. I talked with him a bit, like 2 hours, 3 hours about certain things, and we were always coming back to the award topic. And then we're like, oh no, it's not that important. But like 5 minutes later, we were at the award topic again, and we're like, oh, it's not that important.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
4 or 5 times after, we just were laughing about it because, of course, it's very important to have that. But I think being nominated is one good thing. But if you really complain about things, then you should firstly understand the format, because people were just writing the name in the Trackmania Discord or in the Trackmania News or whatever Discord that is, the award Discord again, and they think that this is a vote. Why did this guy did not get submitted in there? And I like, dude, just read 2 seconds of your life in the thing that you have to suggest one person into that script or into the website, and there was only one person voting for him, and 20 people were plugging it in there. So some people just don't understand it, and yeah, sometimes it's also hard to really objectify it, as I already said. So it's very hard.
I mean, it's always hard to be objective in this. I mean, I remember one of the award shows. I had a very known tech player at the time in my DMs about skin of the year, as to why his were not included as the skin of the year. And I'm like, for one, it wasn't me who made this decision. Why are you lighting me up about it? But yeah, like some people do get very worked up about it, and it's do you know what the important thing is for this sort of situation is that when you are when you are someone who is part of, like example, Exalted Toro, a lot of their fans were a bit annoyed that they weren't included as part of Team of the Year, and like all the rest of that. These people will complain, but these same people won't come on to like the nominees or sorry, the jury next year. Everyone will complain, but no one will come to help. And that's always the way it's been.
I always love it.
Yeah, it's always the way it's been, and it's always the way it's going to be. That's just the nature of how these award shows work. But yeah, I mean, enough of me just bitching and whining about my experience and award shows, so to speak. What was I mean, like I say about there being, a natural measure of controversy regarding the awards. We did have some instances previously, what was it, like Morpheo voting for himself and giving himself a deciding vote and an
I will
award
never
last year,
forget.
which was a fucking
so
joke.
great.
But we won't
I've-
get onto that. But how would you gauge that there's been, a more negative or positive reaction to this this award show? I mean, has there been anything significant that's kind of stuck out to either of you two?
Yeah, well, I mean, there is one problem that I can definitely already address too. It's Hello Mark not getting nominated as Streamer of the Year. I think that was also one of the more controversial categories. I said in the chat, what about Hello Mark? And then the jury was like, I don't watch him. I was like, dude, I also don't watch Bren or Yannick's. I thought like, and I understand that mindset that the person has, but that is such a weird approach as a jury,
Yeah.
Maybe you get that approach, because I also don't watch Yannick's or Bren. Of course, sometimes I watch Bren when he plays a trial map or RPG map to yoink some lines or to just see if I can improve. But it's, I don't know, that's not good, and I wish to have more juries in the next time. Also, one who's maybe playing the game for 30-40 hours, do the objective part. This guy has streamed more, he has those ideas just from the titles, and then there's one inside information person. But the main problem here is one rule that is in there. So if I, of course, am in Streamer of the Year jury or Caster of the Year jury, I cannot be nominated in this category. And usually the people who will be nominated in those categories have the most clue about it. Who is what a good streamer brings, what a good caster brings, and that is a huge problem actually. So I think there were some categories that also have been won. For example, Meep versus Hefest. People just voted for Hefest not as the meme, he's a good player, but just because they knew him, as well as Match of the Year. They didn't look onto the United and also into the Canyon matches because they don't care about them. The attention span is low, which I can completely understand, because it just and yeah, somewhat even useless voting for everyone who's not nominated. It's like hardly anyone cares unless they are not slightly getting into the nominee. They just vote because they want to discuss and bring on their opinion. But yeah, well, that's my take on it.
I mean, it's what we said earlier already. Like last year in the last podcast, we already talked about it. It's considering the way the voting worked this year, with mostly decided by the public. It's always going to be ending up in kind of a popularity contest. Like we already knew that it's going to be like that. People are not going to vote for a United match that they didn't see or something like that. It's not gonna work like that, and you just have to, at least that's my point, you just have to live with that and expect that, because we knew that, so I would be surprised about that now and say, yeah, it's kind of not good. I mean, yeah, of course it's not good. We knew that already before, so it's not a surprise. You just have to live with that, I guess. That's the downside of having it like that. The good part is that it's hard to argue because the most people voted for it. But if you have like the jury votes, it's always hard as well, because people are just gonna say like, yeah, but the jury doesn't know, or stuff like that, and then you have discussions about that. It's no matter what you do, you're gonna end up with problems either way.
Yeah.
Always like that. So one solution for that would be to already try to fetch data already, so that you have jury for Trackmania Awards 2022 now, and then you have like a meeting every quarter of a year, every month, but this is of course not that much possible because it's voluntarily and stuff like that, but just collect data already over that course of the year, over a streamer, over a person, over whatever, I don't know.
I mean, like, as I said, award shows are always difficult to deal with. That was the kind of main point which I kind of introduced with, and also just noticed that I am actually still, for some reason, a member of the TM Awards staff, so I could see all of the, the juicy info if I
They
do need
probably
to,
just didn't remove you.
which I do think is bizarre since I've not been involved with that for over 2 years, but that's cool, I guess. Anyway, might take a wee look through that later, but yeah, it's one of these kind of things where I mean, I've took a little bit of a look through the awards, and one thing that's very telling for me is the change between, like, there's not a lot of awards where the jury votes, who wherever there was a majority, actually ended up winning, which I do find not really surprising, to be honest. I mean, as you'd mentioned there about, I believe it's amateur or classic, classic TM Player of the Year, where Heffest wins with a massive majority over other people who have been very accomplished throughout, the classic TM, if we'll just call it that. But Heffest is a significantly more recognizable name through, his, I don't know, his exploits throughout the community, being a little bit more of a meme, so to speak. I mean, in years gone past, not to say it was the same way now, but I'd suggested that the reason Kem was so heavily nominated for awards like Community Person of the Year was simply because he was one of the most well-known out of the people. I mean, obviously he does and has done great work, not necessarily to discount him, but it was just that he was getting a lot more nominations than a lot of other people were, and it was, through the fact that he was significantly more well-known, and his work was a lot more visible than a lot of other people have done. Because that's another thing we've spoken about before, back when we were talking about, like Community Person of the Year, back when we were talking about it in a competition sense. Like, we'd spoke about Mass being a Community Person of the Year because of a lot of the work he done that went unseen, which is very hard to then justify to people, because you can't point at something and say they done that or they done this, but yeah, I was a little bit disheartened to see how many of the awards, either had no jury votes or didn't have a clear majority of jury votes, which just, won, completely anyway. I mean, you're seeing like full majority of the juries going to someone who got third in Photographer of the Year, although, of course, that's always difficult to and very subjective. But yeah, I mean, that's just kind of my outlook on things is I've always been the advocate of preferring something which is much more regimented and much more closed to, ideally I would have it where the jury would just decide who it is that wins, much as in, for example, in football, you normally have two separate awards. You'll have an award which, for example, is given by journalists or, other important figures of football, but you'll also have an award, nominated by the footballers or managers themselves. Uh,
Well, that's kind of what we had, right?
One being awarded by your peers and one being awarded by, I mean, it is kind of what you had, except, there is no awards necessarily for the jury nominee, so to speak. But I mean, I suppose you also have Eric's award show in which he decides to do. But I mean, how do you guys imagine the awards kind of format evolving through Trackmania? Do you imagine it will stay a kind of community show, or do you imagine like, because I think the most important thing is here is that players and people feel that if they win these awards, it's worth it. I don't want it feeling diluted because it is viewed as just simply a popularity contest. I mean, I would like the events to obtain more, or sorry, the awards to obtain more prestige. But do you see their approach changing at all going forward?
Yes, I think so. But of course, on the other hand, you can also say that people are in the jury who vote for a contest or something or a player or anything that they have been involved with. That they rather vote for that than for the thing that's objectify, or if you objectify it, wins. It's hard to have that because you cannot be objective at this point. You cannot say, okay, this pulls that many player numbers. You always be biased in that case. And I think there will be a change. I hope not that there will be a hybrid change. I liked actually the fact that you have the community vote and also the vote from the jury. It was quite nice. But then, of course, there are things that are not working quite well if the jury is not really stacked in the way. Maybe you should have say, okay, there have to be 5 people in the jury, 5 people, or 3 or 7, a fixed amount, and not 10 people there and 2 in this jury. There should be people who are invested into that and experts. And I think there will be Trackmania Awards taking place, but also for me, I got nominated, but I don't care if I win or not. It's all about being nominated. I won the Cast of the Year pick from the jury, but I think it wouldn't change if I won the award as well. It just, I'm standing there, I'm getting nominated, I'm one of the active or maybe even best casters, I don't know. And as a player, maybe it's something more special if you're pro player of the year or anything. I don't know.
Well, looking at the history of award shows in Trackmania, I definitely don't think it's gonna evolve to that point. Maybe. I mean, I think no. Who was it? Oh, I have to scroll up now. Somebody already said like Evo already. Asso said that Evo already also is hosting an award show, and Eirik also is gonna do his own one. And with Trackmania, we always have this kind of weird issue that it's hard to have something official in a way because everyone can do whatever he wants.
You had an
And
award show?
it's,
Did I miss?
huh?
What did I miss, dude?
Huh?
They had an award show?
Apparently they want to have one. I don't know. Yeah, also had it. Yeah, apparently they also had an award show.
When
I
was
don't even
that?
know about it myself. I'm just saying though, like, is looking at the history of the award show. I mean, Eric at some point hosted it. Then I think wasn't it Scotty that like mainly led it for like one or 2 times, or maybe one time.
Wait, what have I mainly led 1 or 2 times?
Yeah, the award show weren't you like
With Humpmania, hello.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly. And now it's
Uh-huh.
Kai. I don't really like if Kai is
Yeah.
gonna host it like for like the next 2 or 3 years. At some point, I might say like, okay, yeah, now we can say we are going into the direction. But so far, I'm like, yeah, let's see how how it develops. It's hard to say. How long will you stick with it? Is my question in a way, because it's really a job that it's not really well. Yeah, you don't really get back a lot for it. Like, you don't really get rewarded that well compared to other things, because no matter what you do, like we talked about, people are gonna be
Like a
mad at your
prize pool.
decisions either way. You know what I mean about that? So it's, I don't know. We will see. I'd like to, I really liked it to have an award show being even more prestigious, because I mean, the community definitely wants that.
But how you make it more prestigious?
Yeah. That's kind of,
With
I
an
don't
award,
really.
like with a real life award
I don't know,
trophy.
man. I don't really see the path for that so far. Let's be honest. I don't know. I don't really see it happening, at least soon. I don't really mind that myself, to be honest. I don't. I kind of. I don't mind it. It would be nice to have one, obviously, but I don't mind the way it is right now. People discussing about it. Everyone has their own opinion about it anyway.
Yeah.
It's. I don't mind it.
It's just fun, just recapping the year. I
Yeah,
don't really
exactly.
care who wins or not. Maybe some
Yeah.
do, but it's just good to have that activity in there. I would wish that people join the jury more, and that there will be a different system, and maybe like some sort of like picks from the jury when they're like, okay, no, this should go on this way because of that, and not like just vote for this person because it's a popularity contest. But on the other hand, people are always saying, okay, Virtual only won because he is popular and anything like that. But on the other hand, he really deserves it as well. Like, look at this year, 2021. What has he brought to Trackmania? Come on, guys. Literally, he is the reason why we are growing and still growing in Trackmania. He has brought the most audience in, and I think he completely deserves most, or like every award that he has won there. Really.
No. I mean, I'm personally not in that kind of camp. I mean, I respect the efforts that someone goes to bring a lot of attention and a lot of, kind of traffic into Trackmania, but that doesn't automatically mean they're the best at what they do, so to speak. I mean, that would be like, saying Spam is one of the best casters of Trackmania in years gone past because he was one of the biggest streamers, because he brought a lot of traffic to the streams he done. And again, this is just one of these things that comes into the opinionated based things of awards. Some people, take into account a lot of things, which, I mean, in a case that I would feel are not entirely relevant to certain awards. For example, let me ask this as a question: would a caster, or should a caster, be more valuable or more highly regarded as a caster simply because of the events they've done, or should it be solely viewed upon and how they performed in the events?
Dude, I
they've
don't
run?
care about that.
Guys,
he
are
got
we already
10,000
in a
views.
jury
No,
meeting
no.
about
It's
next
whatever.
year or what?
But this is just the problem. I'm not asking this as a question to open up for a discussion. This is a kind of question that members of the jury always have to ask themselves. This is why being part of the jury isn't an easy job. This is why people like Turbo, when they finished off with the jury, are always like, I've spent like 200 years doing this. It's always a difficult process. It's always a difficult process, no matter which award it is you go on to, especially like, I mean, I always dreaded going on to your skin map of the year and all the rest of that. But it just goes to show that awards that you might think are more clear cut, i.e., something like Caster of the Year, are not just as simple as that. But that's, of course, why you need more. You need more people to come into it. You need more sides of the story to hear.
Yes.
And the jury, and that's why, of course, I mean, I would carry the appeal, which I'm sure the Trackmania Awards staff would then be presenting on in their own, in the kind of sense of this, that you are needed for these type of things. You are needed to then help with the research that's required to ensure that the award is as well based as possible, and it's not just the typical here's the last 3 months of the year awards. But like it's one of these sort of things where it really can be improved, and the way it can be improved is through people coming on and helping out. A little fun fact though, for the caster of the year, there was exactly 1,000 votes, as well as the
Yep.
event of the year, which makes me smile. I think that's pretty funny. But yeah,
And imagine I got over 240 of that, or 230. Like, that's incredible.
There you go.
Just to think about that, that's like a lot.
Mhm.
I'm happy about it.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, that's just the way of the way things are. I mean, but yeah, I think that's enough, at least, about the award show for now. And we're trying to try and not do the thing Turbo done with these virtual chat and keep going back to every 5 minutes. But maybe in another podcast or two, we'll get back there. But we have also had Trackmania Grand League concluding, or at least was it the winter 2021 season, if I remember correct, or was it fall 2021? I forget what exactly it was called, but at least the most recent.
New
At least the
campaign?
most recent Trackmania Grand League season
What?
has concluded, and
Fall.
fall. There we go, and we have our winner, and we have essentially our top 8 / top 9 coming through, and Turbo's certainly very happy about that. The only part of Trackmania Grand League we really have to be decided is essentially the final head-to-head battles, which will be between Carl Jr. and Worker, and who else is it?
Tween versus Kappa, and then
Tween
there's
versus Kappa.
Hedra versus of course Mime, and then it is Otak versus Evon.
Otak and Evon. Yeah, for sure.
Otak Evon winner will play against the loser of the Kappa versus Tween match, and then there is Carl Jr. and Worker. The loser of that will play against the winner of the Mime versus Hedra match.
Yeah, so going to be very interesting at the very least coming into these heads-to-heads. But what did you guys think of the finals overall? What did you kind of absorb from that, so to speak? We also had, of course, the last chance qualifier. Who came through that again? Was it Scrappy that came through that again?
Binks.
Oh, Binks, pardon me. Yes.
Binks.
I'm a year behind. I'm a season behind when Scrappy got through. Sorry. But yeah, what did you guys think of the Trackmania Grand League finals?
Tag as a chat. That's what
anything else? Mr. Eminem.
The format was nice, but the 1v1s are kind of I don't know. Yeah. Maybe we don't need the last 1v1 stage, to be fair. I didn't feel the hype in those matches. Already in the last chance. Like I really enjoyed the changes they did to the format, and I like the format itself personally. I don't think they have to change anything. I'm really happy about that. But the last 1v1 for me is I don't know. I don't feel it. That's all I can say to that.
Yeah, it feels a bit, you make a mistake, the round is over, you lose all of your momentum, and then you see really Afi. I think on what map was it? That also got nominated as map of the year. What was it again?
From Kisler Poolside.
Yeah, poolside, exactly. Poolside it was. Afi just made a mistake. He made another, or like he did a superb good first round, and then he was struggling because Tag was beating him. It was incredible. So it's like this is really playing. I think you age 5 years in this match when you play it. I think because of all that stress that you endure. I don't want to be a player in this case. Only when your name is like someone like Pac, who certainly doesn't feel any pressure or is just really good at coping it. But a 1v1 is cool. I like it, but sometimes it can be very anticlimactic because usually you don't have a lot of rounds that come to the ending and get decided in the last corner.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if I can just say in terms of the way it all worked out, I mean, it was decent. I thought it was. I thought it was an interesting final at the very least. I mean, it was a little bit of time ago, so I'm just refreshing myself with all the results here. It was interesting to see some faces like Massa going out instantly when we would talk about, the people who this format would ideally suit best. And then you have the likes of course, Afi being the surprise package for a few people and getting second place. Of course, a very well-deserved second place when you look at his performance. Scrappy and Gwen taking 3rd to 4th, Mudda and Aurel taking 5th to 6th, and Granadi, Binks, and Massa taking 7th through to 9th. So definitely, I mean, we did make predictions beforehand, and I don't think any of us were right in putting Afi in the top 2. I believe me and Turbo both picked Pac for first, if I remember correctly. I got Scrappy and Gwen in my top 4, but I don't remember anything else on that.
I had Massa in my 3rd position and Gwen in my 2nd. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm too old to remember all that shit now.
I have no fucking idea.
I thought that Afi would go out first round, actually.
Yeah.
But I mean, Afi is positive surprise. Very nice.
It just goes to show how these kind of players are evolving. how these kind of players are evolving to the conditions that they're put under, and how some are not evolving to the conditions that they are put under. But definitely, I would say a plus point, and I'm happy with the competition as a whole at the final. Definitely looked good. There wasn't any issues that I really noticed in that regard. But how about that for you guys? You feeling good after the Trackmania Grand League finals?
Yes.
Yep. Overall, yes. I would like probably cut down the 1v1 personally. I don't need that at all. Basically, the stage before could be the last in my opinion. But even with the last stage being a little bit, I still I enjoyed it, and the finals are really well done in my opinion. I'm really hyped about that always. I think it's really well, the format and everything. We already talked about the quality of the streams and stuff like that. I guess you can always still improve a lot there compared to other games. There's just a lot of things you could do there, but it kind of works without it. As long as you don't really have any big issues here and there, it's fine in my opinion. Like, I'm really positive about TMGL finals.
Yep. I'm also positive about the development, at least from my side. But it's just when you like really put in a lot of effort and try to like grow in Trackmania, you can just be very good. I mean, you see, Hans and me had 500 views at the final. That was super nice, actually. It was super nice, and I think view wise and also like forging a somewhat community worked out a bit better this year. But in general, the Trackmania Grand League was okay. It was okay in the way with a point system. It would have even been better with a better point system, and the players were just the pinnacle, and just shows again like that you don't need a multiplier or a deduction of points to create tension, because it all came down to the last rounds, and that was a bit meh.
You know what I'm thinking about? I mean, you just mentioned it already. So the format of the point multiplication and loss and stuff. I mean,
Here we go.
we want to talk about that anyway, right? Nadeo officially announced that they're gonna have like revamp the system again, which I think we all wanted, and I think we all kind of knew that they're gonna have to make a change. So they decided it's not gonna be point loss. It's not gonna be point multiplier. It's gonna be kind of like head-to-head matches again in like a
Wait,
cup.
you know it already? Got it leaked?
No,
or?
no. I don't know anything. But what didn't they kind of? I mean, I think all they said is basically that it's not gonna be point loss, and that it's okay. No, what is okay? Okay, now I got it. Now I remember it. So they said it's not gonna be point loss, and it's not gonna be like multiplication, and it's gonna be like one lappers again. And that's why I thought they said something about cup mode. And what I wanted to say is my idea is, or my suspicion kind of is, that they are gonna do like the kind of like final, like the TMGL final mode, just in like in the old TMPL system. So like there's gonna be like match days, multiple match days, where they have like four players each, and instead of playing maybe a cup mode, maybe they're gonna actually do cup mode. I don't know. They could, but they are gonna, instead of playing cup mode, they are just gonna play like the final mode from TMGL finals. That's something that I was thinking about they might do, but other than that, obviously we don't have an idea yet. But it sounds kind of positive. But I mean, we know it's TMGL, so no, I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean that we know it's not going to be cup mode, and it's not going to be normal cup mode. There's going to be something special about
I don't
it,
think
or
so.
something. Are you sure about that?
I don't think so. I think it will be a normal system this time.
Okay, I'm not sure about that. There's going to be
there will
something
be
special
there
or
will
weird
be
about it.
as he said, there will be no multiplier or anything like that, or no other things or point loss. It will be a normal system that is comparing the sheer pace from players.
I mean,
That's
I
it.
hope it. I hope so. I really hope so.
Yeah.
And as long, yeah. I mean,
Look, Phoebe, she is saying it.
Yeah. But the format 1v1v1v1. That's basically either cup mode or something else in that regards. But that's basically how it's gonna be.
I think it's something like I don't know. It could be cup mode. I mean, it would be very cool to be reverse cup mode, of course. But
You're
of
saying
course,
that because you thought of it.
No,
yeah,
but
of course. I mean,
it makes sense, though.
you
It
Dear
makes
HQ, you
sense.
can think about reverse cup mode, but I think it will be a bit.
Patented by LuckersTurbo.
That was my idea. I didn't do it.
Costs €500 to use per
Nah,
step.
I'll take 10%.
Yeah.
No, of course, I'm kidding. But I think it will be like maybe a bit like the 1v1 format that we've had, you know?
Yeah.
Something like that. Maybe that you have like only the winner is maybe the winner gets 2 points, the other gets 1 point, the second place, and then you be finalist at 10 points or something. I don't know. This would be cool.
The only thing I want to say, what I hope they're gonna like really take into consideration, something I've always disliked about cup mode is okay, new format, but I just it still applies. There's one thing about cup mode I really disliked, and the problem with cup mode is that once you're finalist, you can't get points yourself. There are different solutions to that kind of. You have this very old ESL cup mode where if you are finalist, you still gain points. That was kind of like it solves the problem, but on the other hand, it's kind of boring in a way because if there's like you don't really have like those crazy 3 finalist rounds in
Yeah.
that mode. That's the issue with that basically. But all I hope is if they're gonna do something like what I dislike is if you have like cup mode but with like 100 point limit. Like the points limit has to be at least like 140 or something like that in cup mode to at least give a player that is dominating a chance to like even get like 2 or 3 rounds alone as finalist, which he deserves in my opinion. Like if you can't close out like 3 rounds in a row, then yeah, maybe you're not supposed to win. But if you like completely dominate in one of the early matches in cup mode, you have like 1 round alone. Like,
That's why reverse cup mode is such a good
yes,
format.
exactly. That's also why reverse cup mode is so great because it also solves that issue. But that's kind of my only hope because that's like my biggest issue with normal cup mode. I really don't like that.
It has its place, but it's very, very weird that the first place is getting decided first because I could have seen it. Let's take Solary Cup finals. I had 2,000 views there. I had the view count open and just focusing on the cast. But 2,000 views at the final, and then first place was decided. View count dropped to 1,500. Third place was decided. View count dropped to 1,200. Match was over. View count at 900. Shouldn't it be like that? The view count goes up at the end, and the tension should be right at the ending. That's like the biggest problem that you have in cup mode. That's what I don't really like.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I definitely get that, and it's one thing. Stand up and get a measuring tape, Shorty.
Wait a minute, we can solve this.
I'm 177.
I mean, how are you like?
Yeah, dude, how? Yeah, I can set up. Yeah,
hold on. Get a bottle. Get a bottle.
Perspective.
See how many bottles tall you are.
Yeah, how tall am I? Just from a picture. Great. That's never going to work anyway.
For all we know, Shorty might be living in a dollhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Banana for scale.
See the fake windows on the wall? It could clearly be, just a big fake house.
Could be a dwarf, dude.
Yeah. Why do you think he's called Shorty?
I actually thought before I met Shorty that he was short.
I used to be short. When I was younger, I definitely used to be short. Like my main growth sport was like very late, but that's still not why I have that name anyway. But still, whatever.
Thank you for completely derailing our podcast, people. But yeah, so back to our original story. Now that we're finished measuring,
we can measure something else as well.
Oh no, we've already been there. I was
thinking about saying,
look at my hands.
Oh my god, that's so bad.
Turbo's seen me in the toilet. But yeah, anyway, before we get into those kind of stories, because that's for a whole completely different platform. But yeah,
for YouTube.
Because I don't care about getting demonetized on YouTube. I don't even get money on YouTube. But anyway, okay, right. We're serious now. Okay, right. No smiles anymore. There we go. Yeah. So one thing which I was thinking in terms of the kind of tension and the rest of that is that exactly as you say there. It needs to, like, the whole format from the weekly stages of Trackmania Grand League has done a very good job in working up the tension to be at its highest point at the very end, either through the points multiplier or through the points lost, of course, having its highest impact at the very end. Hence, the viewership then, well, or the interest, the investment from an individual in the event will grow until the climax, and then it finishes, sort of like, my love life. But
You had
in
to.
terms of the, of course, Phoebe's here. I need to make some jokes and not embarrass myself. But yeah, so we do need a kind of format which fits that for the entire stage of Trackmania Grand League. Be that as it may, a reverse cut mode kind of thing, like you're mentioning. Survival mode, still a better name for it, and I really don't care what you say.
There will be a tournament with survival mode, actually.
Oh, well, okay.
Correlating with a tournament from Granadi.
Okay, well,
Ooh.
that's, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I would like to see if we can eventually nail the perfect format. Well, of course, there's never going to be a perfect format, but I would always I'm always going to be interested to see what the Trackmania Grand League do come up with next. And, I will still hold my breath as, of course, traditionally I've been a little bit, apprehensive, shall we say. I think that's a fair way to put it. But I will hold my breath, wait till the new rule book comes out, take a good look through it, and I will make my judgments then. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, I disagreed with the last two, so I'm sure this one's going to be shit. Like, no, let's be rational about it. These people are people who have had experience in dealing with competitions. Softy was coming from the Trackmania Pro League. They've managed to come out with the TMWC, which I didn't see anyone having complaints about. Not a lot of people have had complaints with the final format, even considering that's one that they've kind of made off of their own backs, or at least from influence from other sort of events. So, it's just a question of how they manage to marry up the rise in, investment, so to speak, throughout a step with, the excitement that each step brings. So I'll be very interested in looking forward to seeing it, and looking forward also, which I feel is a good point to go on to, as to who's going to be in Trackmania Grand League even next season. As I mean, you did mention a few of them there. I mean, some of them, a lot of people are looking at as being done deals. Like, for example, they do believe, for example, Carl Jr. will make short work of Worker himself. However, I believe you said that now the winners of each match then go against the kind of opposite number from the opposite division, in the sense that the winner of Mime and Hydra will go against Carl Jr. and Worker. And I mean, Carl Jr. or Worker, thank you. And I mean, that's spicy, I mean, don't get me wrong, Carl Jr. is the best of all time. If Carl Jr. wants to show up, he will show up, and he will defeat any person on the planet. Anyone on the planet.
He's back. He's motivated again.
He practiced TMGL on stream.
Yeah, but the question is, what kind of Carl Jr. is going to show up to the last chance events?
The best Carl Jr.
We always made the joke about how Riolu would only show up in the group stages when it actually came to the times he was about to get eliminated. Well, I made that joke, I'll just clarify, back when we were allowed to talk about Riolu. But I mean, we spoke about a few players like that who have been very much like, it gets to the point of no return, and that's when they start showing up. So, like, a lot of people are expecting it to be Mime and Carl Jr. Mime's no fucking joke, absolutely not. I think it's rather poetic that Kappa and Tween are going against each other. That is, a little bit of a story which,
friends,
to be honest, I think is going to have very far-reaching consequences that are, well, not far-reaching, but very important consequences in both of their careers, as these guys are very, very, long in the tooth when it comes to Trackmania. These players have been they've done it all. They don't have anything left to prove anymore. And whether you'll imagine if any of them will continue to play the game, if they get demoted to Trackmania Grand League Challenger, whether they will go through that process again, because it's not as if they're just going to walk through Challenger either. Challenger is very stacked as well. Whether they will continue to keep playing, because
No.
one of them's going to lose. Kappa, Tween, one of them might just decide, time's up on Trackmania, which is something I've been thinking about at the very least in terms of what will happen with the two of them. And then Evon or Otak going against them, so we could potentially see none of them in Trackmania Grand League next season. So very interesting. But what are you guys thinking?
That's not how the format works.
It's not. Oh, pardon me. So if say Kappa wins, for example, and then he goes in a matchup against I don't know, Evon, for example.
Why should Kappa play against Evon if he wins?
All right, it's a loser. Pardon me. Yeah, you're right. I've just misinterpreted the format. But yes, we will at the very least see one of them, and potentially two of them then. So I've got that right. No?
It
So
could
the
be
loser
no
then.
one. It could be no one going out.
That's why I said potentially two of them could stay.
Okay, could stay. Yeah. Okay, then
okay.
I thought could go out. Okay, but
I thought, shit, I'm gonna need to retire.
So the winner is fine, and the loser plays against the winner in the last match. And that's where the two divisions merge.
I rescued it at the very least. I rescued it, but I think it's going to be very interesting to see what's going to happen for either one of these players, because I think this is the primary gig for Trackmania, and it's going to continue to be the primary gig for Trackmania, and it's going to be the where these players will want to be, and if they're not going to be there, it's a lot of B's as you said. Will they stay in Trackmania? We've had multiple occasions in the past where, Kappa was retired before Sampi came back in to offer him a big contract, or was it Sampi? Yeah, it was Sampi. If I remember. Yeah, because he returned to go to Sampi. I do remember that correctly.
Maybe I need to retire as well.
Yeah, and there's been a few players at this sort of stage who are in the stage where they're basically saying, look, if I don't get the organizational income or the potential of income through Trackmania Grand League, they're not going to play anymore. Before Massa was in Berlin International Gaming, he was talking about retiring. Before Spam was in Alliance, he was talking about retiring. It shows the kind of stage that these people are at in their careers, where, and of course now, Spam and Massa making a little bit through streaming, will be able to at least continue their interest in the game. It's going to be a little bit harder for someone like Kappa, who doesn't have an audience that he at least uses, shall we say, to then turn around if he does get eliminated from Trackmania Grand League and say, right, I'm going to spend 3 to 4 months of my time trying to get back into Trackmania Grand League. He did, with no guarantee of being successful and no guarantee of being retained by his sponsor. So yeah, I think it's definitely going to have consequences for potential consequences. But who do you imagine will be looking as our lineup for next season Trackmania Grand League?
I'll go with the Rioter take if Tween will continue playing some tag tournaments. You hardly see Kappa around. I don't know who actually goes through or not, but what I think is that the match between I think it will be Otak versus Tween or Kappa. This one will be I cannot, it's a 50-50 for me, Tween versus Kappa, really. Tween looked stronger in the season. So I just go with that Tween is gonna win, but I like both. I think this will be an absolute close match, and it will be make it or break it. And the player who is gonna go out there, like Tween or Kappa, if it's Kappa, he will quit, I think. And the other match, Worka versus Carl Jr., I think it will be a 3-0 for Carl Jr., and Worka will play against Mime, and Mime is gonna make it. That's my take.
Yeah, I fully agree. I mean, that is, with the matchup.
But never underestimate Worker, though.
I don't want to underestimate. And, it's not about underestimating Worker. It's just, we know that Worker is a really good player, and he is not in TMGL. Just
He has worked for it.
he has worked for it, obviously, right? But I think Mime just looked so much stronger in the season overall. So it's hard to imagine that Worker wins against him, even knowing that Worker obviously can do
Has
better
beaten
than he
Galani.
showed it. Yeah. Yes. She did.
She?
He.
I think it's important to note, though, when we do talk about a player like Mime, is that when we see, I remember someone on Reddit was doing it every week for Trackmania Grand League, and it was showing your combined leaderboards if you were to put all the times against each other. And, none of the Trackmania Grand League players were getting truly outclassed. There was some of them that were getting overtaken if you're to do a point standing, but not by a big amount. I don't think any of the OGL players, or sorry, Trackmania Grand League Challenger players, again, I'm seasons behind here, actually would have made it into the top 8, if I remember correctly. I'd need to double check the final standings on that, but I think the highest was 9th or 10th in that regard. So, of course, it's a little bit hard to look when you consider the multiplier and things like that. So I think they've done it without the multiplier for, the purpose of trying to get as good a representation as possible. But I do think that Carl Jr. versus Worker very much depends on what Carl Jr. wants. If Carl Jr. wants to stay in, he will stay in. Worker's fate is determined by Carl Jr. essentially, and it's unfortunate to have to say that, because Worker is a very high quality player. But like I said, put anyone in that match against Carl Jr. If Carl Jr. wants to win, he will win. It is as simple as that. But yeah, the next match I don't think is as clear cut. I do think Mime is, of course, the people's favourite, but it will be very interesting to see if he does make it into the next season of Trackmania Grand League. But how do you guys feel about the little head-to-head format that I got a little crash course on just there? How do you guys feel about this kind of way of promoting or demoting people? Because we've had different systems in the past, but why can I get your thoughts on it?
It still feels way too exclusive because, you set the way back into the Trackmania Grand League. Imagine it is Mime who played 8 steps, and also Otak. They really had to get themselves those bonus points because they were important, also for the prize money eventually. Then you have to play one more qualifier and then 2 matches, and if you have a bad last match, then all was for nothing and you have to start all the way again. I think that first and second should be promoted directly, and then 15th and 16th should be relegated, and then it should be 3, 4, 5, and 6 play against each other, and then as well as what is that then? 14, 13, 12, and 11. Something like that.
Here's the way I imagine it, right? I know some of the lower leagues in the English Premiership do this in football, where you have your 2 losers and 2 winners automatic, or maybe one loser, 1 winner, get automatically promoted / demoted, and then you have a playoffs tournament between the second, third, and fourth, and the next bottom 3 from the league above. I reckon that's the way that it should be done. I would love to see something like that, because, like you said, it does feel very exclusive, and I certainly agree with that.
Yeah, I agree as well. I would even go as far as and say like top 2 from the Challenger League should directly advance. Just
Didn't I
one
say
is
that?
Yeah, you said that, but Scotty said one, so I just
Okay.
repeated it.
I was just giving an example, but
And yeah. I mean, we all. No, but you know what we mean. It's kind of like,
No.
of course, I can see that they try to like have as much matches as possible in a way, maybe, and they also like want to make sure that the best of the best stay in the Grand League. So like, you don't want to force a better player outside of the Grand League when he kind of deserves to be in the Grand League compared to the Challenger player, maybe. But on the other hand, if you're the last player on the TMGL, you just fucked up. And especially considering that the new format might be way better than before. You always putting into perspective of like multiplier and point loss formats. You always like, yeah, you can be like really unlucky and end up in a position where you don't maybe not belong, but considering and hoping for fair and good system where the best player is, the best player also on the leaderboard always, then if you're last and second last in the TMGL, you just deserve to be in the Challenger League, especially now having a Challenger League, like you don't drop out into OGL or something like that. You drop out in the Challenger League, and you just have to prove yourself again, win that shit there easy, and back you are in the Grand League, like that's how easy it is now. So now that we have the Challenger League, I definitely think that it would be better and also more interesting if you always have at least like 2 players directly demoting. And
Yeah.
The Challenger League is just super nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus.
It enables these kind of things. It makes it way better, in my opinion.
Because the one problem with the current system, which the automatic promotions and demotions do then deal with to an extent, is that you do have someone who's worked their ass off for a good few months, up to 6 months, to try and get into Trackmania Grand League. Has, in the case of Mime and Otak, for example, top 2 qualifiers from Trackmania Grand League Challenger stage are now at the whim of, of course, Worker being not one of the most regarded out of the Trackmania Grand League stock, but you think of the other 3 players who are part of that draw. Carl Jr., Kappa, and Tween. Some of, when for example, you're talking about tech, those would be, outside of Pack, the first 3 names on your list. These are some of the most tenured, experienced, and skilled players the game has ever seen, these people have been in these sort of tournament finals and stressful situations for, longer than most of these other people have been playing.
Alive.
Yeah, look at Carl Jr., who was in finals of TMW of ESWC since like 2012. Or Tween, who's been competing at the top level since 2011. And only just missed out in winning ESWC from fucking Hacky Jr., however long that was ago.
Jr. wasn't it? No, 2010 was
2010 was Bergie, 2011 was Hacky Jr.
2010,
But yeah, it just goes to show how deeply experienced these people are. And I do think that's a horrible thing to... if you're Otak or Evon, that's got to be nightmare scenario for you, because you can put a lot of things in Trackmania Grand League down to players just simply not having the motivation to excel. They will put in an amount of training so that they'll still give a good account of themselves, so they'll not embarrass themselves. They won't show up no trained just because, they're busy doing other things. They will put in a bit of effort so that they'll at least, kind of be in the running for it. But we know these players are capable of so much more. We know Kappa is a TMGL champion. Tween has been in the playoffs of TMGL. Carl Jr. is a TMGL champion himself. And it's like, can you imagine, of all people, you're against them, and you know that if they truly care about staying in the league, they will put in a lot of effort. And what kind of chance are you going to have against the Trackmania Grand League champion if they want to stay in? So I think it's important that the way I put it, because we had this discussion last season or the season before as well, there should be a definitive carrot for the TMGLC players, in the sense that they should have an automatic qualification. However, that will also work as a stick for those in the Trackmania Grand League main league, because this will actively incentivize them to put in more effort for positions that are more than just the top 8, because they know if they're bottom 2, they will get eliminated. So it then indirectly makes it more competitive, because there's more to fight for, because there's more to lose. I hated seeing, I remember some players of the seasons gone past. I seem to remember, I'll say their names, not specifically to call them out for it, but just as their names that stuck in my head for this, because I don't fucking care about saying names. Remember, Masa and Riolu performed relatively poorly. I believe it was Riolu who performed very poorly in the regular stage. I believe he was last or second last, and Massa performed, he got 9th or something like that, and just essentially half-assed the combine and got an insignificant amount of points, had like 5 people from OGL finishing in front of him, but he was able to stay in anyway because of the way that worked. And then you had Riolu, who would have been in danger if he finished behind too many people, but actually then put in time into Trackmania Grand League, and as such stayed in because it was easy for him in that kind of sense.
Yeah, but there Riolo had other difficulties there at this point. I mean, I had private
It's not to
contact.
say that he didn't have a
But
reason
he wasn't
for
in
it, but-
danger at all. It just you have one last call still, so there can still be no one who's going out. And I guess I get the point. I get the point where you're like, oh yeah, it shouldn't be like that. Poor performance shouldn't be justifiable, even if you have personal issues. You can always come back.
I mean, back then the combine was even worse than it was now. Let's be honest. Like you were a TMGL player and you had like a combine match with I think like was it 6 or 8 players combined from like 3 TMGL players and 3 or something like that. And if you were a TMGL player, you basically like got already like points ahead of the team against the OGA players for no fucking reason at all. So you could play worse than an OGL player and still be in instead of that guy. Like I remember that season. That was so fucked up, that system. It didn't make sense at all. I don't know. It was really bad. I mean, now at least it's like direct head to head. If you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. That's at least more fair. But it still makes there are still so many stages, and I agree with what Scotty said. It's just it would just be better to have like 1 or 2 direct relegation, direct demoted.
Would put in
positions.
fresh wind as well,
Yeah,
to have
exactly.
someone like
it would be so much more interesting. Imagine.
the Battle Mime versus Otak for first even. Oh, dude, this would have been such a great storyline as well.
Yeah, exactly. You have a nice storyline there, and on the other hand, imagine now. I mean, it's probably very unlikely, but you could have a case where now you have this exact 16 same players in the next season. I'm not gonna say it's gonna be boring or something like that. Obviously not, but it's still interesting to have at least like 1 or 2 names each season by default already in the mix. Just to watch.
Yeah, the only issue which I will combine with an issue we discussed previously about the general kind of, because you need to go through more steps and to get into Trackmania Grand League now with the addition of OGL. I do find myself concerned, like say for example, I don't know, Kappa gets eliminated from Trackmania Grand League and says, "Fuck this, I'm not playing Challenger League." He's going to take some time off, finish his studies, whatever, do a little bit of real life stuff, whatever it is he wants to do, and then decides he wants to come back. There's not a lot of people who have already been that close to the pinnacle that will then think they should have to spend a year trying to get back to Trackmania Grand League, going through six months worth of an OGL cycle, going through 6 months of a Trackmania Grand League Challenger cycle, and then he get put up like his fucking Carl Jr. or something like that in the combine, But yeah, it's so there's still a few issues to get ironed out, but the good thing I find myself about the Trackmania Grand League in general is I'm finding myself with less and less complaints as we go on. I had a lot of complaints about the combine before, and I'm finding myself not having as much complaints anymore.
Yeah, and that's good. And I think that's also the development. I think 2022 is, I mean, we said it for 2021, but there, of course, we had the exposure of Trackmania and also the whole game just blowing up, but the game also has to work on its own, that there has to be content. And I think that's what they are really trying to do. I still think that Nadeo's putting in a lot of work and effort into the game, that they love and are passionate about it. Maybe at some point they have the wrong mindset, but they just didn't mean in a bad way, And that's what I still think, that they love the game and that 2022 will be awesome. They definitely have something planned for it. There should just be some incentives to play the game, but that's something else.
Yeah, well, I mean, talking about TMGL, I just agree with Scotty. I mean, he said it earlier with the complaints already about the format and stuff like that. And there's one thing that you like really have to like speak highly about Nadeo, that they've listened in a lot of ways with the TMGL. Like not only that they like improve it in general, but then like in general they just listen better than we used to, in a way. Like you had the first pointless format, and looking at it now with the multiplication format, where the multiplication format is actually kind of worse. It makes sense that I think it was 2 seasons or something like that with the point loss or even 3. Like they definitely did give that one a bigger chance, but after that they said, okay, yeah, people are not happy with this, so let's try and improve. They had the multiplication system. Maybe they could have tested better internally or something like that to like figure out the issues of it earlier or something like that. But they took the very first opportunity now after the season and changed it directly. Changing it mid-season was impossible anyway, and we were already talking about the fear of them not changing it for the next season because that would mess up the points calculation for World Cup. I mean, we said that there are issues, that are ways around that, obviously, but we weren't sure if Nadio is gonna do it or not. And I'm really happy to see that they decided to already like give up the format now instead of saying, yeah, but
Yes.
the World Cup and it would be so difficult to calculate the points fairly then. And no, they just they went with what is right in my opinion, and I'm really happy about that because I'm not too sure if like 1 year ago or like 1.5 years ago I would have that would have happened. Maybe I'm not sure, but that's what makes me happy about it, because I can see that we are continuously improving. Like in general, the game is improving. Nadio is listening. I mean, listening is weird to say it like that because obviously just because yeah, I mean, just because
Nadio
the community.
listening? This doesn't
Yeah,
compute.
exactly. Just because the community is saying something, obviously it's not worth to listen to everything. But you know what I mean with that, like I mean there are obvious things where the community is right, and I'm happy that Nadio is listening more or changing more compared to before, because that it used to be the case that we didn't get a lot of changes in this game. Let's put it that way. Like I'm really happy about that.
For sure. But yeah, I mean, I think that rounds us off a little bit nicely for Trackmania Grand League and today's episode in general. An actual nice note for once. It feels like I need to like call these out whenever we have like a moment where we're actually positive about things, because it does seem to be getting more frequent. Don't get me wrong, but it's always notable when it happens. But anyway, as I said, call it time here for tonight's episode. We will be back, of course, next week, hopefully, at the same time and the same place. As always, any topics, any interesting questions, or no waving already. We're not at that stage yet. This fucking guy, he's been away from podcasts for 2 weeks and thinks he knows what he's doing. Need to send him back to bed. Anyway, we will get on to that in just a second. But we will be back, as I said, next week. Any questions, any topics, as always, hit us up in the socials, which turbo he can wave now, and he can tell you where you can find him. But I'm sure you already know it's, of course, at LuckersTurbo and at Shorty 2 now, I guess, for Shorty. And, of course, myself you can find here. But as always, the podcast is brought to you by esac.gg, so a reminder to check that out, and also the sign-ups for CPS 23, if I'm correct, stop in 2 days. So for those who are interested in taking part, which might be me, I'll think about it.
Dude, this will be so great.
I know, thank you. But it will be very interesting to see what teams are lining up. I've already took my BDI over to see the lineups, but it'll be very interesting to see, and also check out the website if you want to see who else is lined up, if you want to see what kind of teams are partaking, and you can find all of that information on esac.gg. But I suppose that has been it from us tonight, and we will hopefully see you next week. But until then, have a nice week, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, and we will speak to you later. But bye-bye for now.
Bye bye.